Welcome to TriloTalk. This is a podcast dedicated to topics that we think are important to the profession of medical writing. And our goal is to bring topical issues to the forefront and hopefully spark conversations in the wider domain about these issues.
And I will just start by giving a very brief mention of the vision. When I started Trilogy with my two colleagues, everyone gave us advice on founding a company. And one of the things they told us was, ask yourself why you want to found and lead a company. And as I thought about it, it was in kind of the turn just about 2001 to 2. There was still this kind of Wall Street idea that to run a successful company, you had to be a real jerk and treat your employees like garbage or slaves. And I just was against that idea. And part of what I wanted to do was to try and show, yes, you can create a company, you can treat people with respect, you can make it a fun and exciting and interesting place to work, and you can still make a profit and be successful. That was my dream back in 2001. And so 10 years ago, it's now 2021, Gretchen joined us. So I would like to start things off by saying, Gretchen, so what do you think? How well did we come close, or in what ways did we achieve, and maybe in what ways do we still need to work towards that dream?
Well, Barry, I think in general, Trilogy nailed it. I think the culture that you set out to create is alive and well here at Trilogy. I think in general, right, the vision is always in the forefront, but it's going to change over time to match the progression of the world and what the employees are looking for. Every generation is looking for something a little bit different. They have different priorities. Certainly the pandemic has, shown us that maybe what we thought we wanted was not as important. And I think Trilogy does a really good job in being agile and flexible and meeting employees where they are regarding what the wants are for today and the future. So I think in general, there's a lot to be proud of. And I think that what is provided here is really hitting the mark.
Well, first of all, thank you. I was tempted to butt in and say, after you said we nailed it, that's enough. We can stop the interview now. But I think as I listen to you, it occurs to me that if I was not me, I would be wondering, so how were you guys able to do that? How was Trilogy able to do that? And I'd like to hear what Gretchen has to say, but I would just offer my ideas. First is something that Gretchen already said, so I'm going to steal her words, is the agility and maybe even flexibility to that too. Because of course, we didn't just start the company and on day one, we knew how to manage and lead people and everything. We had to learn, we made mistakes. We tried to learn from our mistakes. And I think that is really the most important. Somebody famous, and I don't remember, once said, making a mistake once happens to everybody. Making the same mistake twice should not happen. So I think when you can learn from your mistakes and be agile, whether it's learning yourself or whether it's because your employees are changing and what they want and what the world wants is changing, those are really, in my opinion, key to success. Gretchen, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think knowing what the next priority or ask from your employees is really challenging, right? Because you don't know what the work world is going to offer. You don't know what season of life everybody's going through a different time, right? The time to have children, the time to, give those kids wings, the time to go back to school, right? You just don't know, and everybody's in a different place at different times. So I think empowering that employee to say, this is what I need, right? And providing that psychological safe space to be willing to come to the manager and say, I know we talked about needing this, but now I need this. Is, how do we achieve that? How do we make that work? We talk a lot about that work-life balance or integration. I don't know that it's really ever a balance. It's just what you need in the moment for the life that you've chosen or the life that's happening. And I think that is part of the success of Trilogy's culture is the willingness of our management to listen to the employees, to consider requests, and in some aspects how to create that space for somebody to be successful by supporting them in what they need.
It's interesting. As you were talking, I was thinking, gosh, this sounds a lot like parenting. And I think it's true. And for me, what's crucial, and I would even extend this to just about anything, is the most important is to have a goal. And I'm certainly not the first person to say this. I think there's tons of people. In fact, none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger, in an interview I saw, said he achieved everything in life because he set goals and he really stuck to them. And I think that's true. Earlier, and when I was younger, I was a mountain climber, and that's all about the goal. And our goal was to make a place that was successful but fun to work, where people respected and liked each other. And therefore, I think that helps us be agile or flexible, because as new crises arise or new issues or whatever, you always have to step back and say, okay, how does what I want to do or what I'm going to do get us closer to that goal of having that kind of work environment or not? And that is always a good sanity check, if you will, of what you're about to do or what you're about to decide.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually think that because of what we do as medical writers, right, and what Trilogy does in being a focused boutique service provider of medical writing, it uniquely positions us to provide that support and culture that we're looking for, right? Because we do it for our clients, where as they change their strategies, as the guidelines change from FDA, we're working in that constant change environment, right? And managing through all of the uncertainty and the ambiguity and, the rerunning of tables and data and whatnot. Well, people are complicated too, and they're not that different, right? Like sometimes you make a decision and then you change your mind, or something's supposed to happen on this day and it happens on this day, right? There's a lot of uncertainty to clinical trials, to the things that we do, and that is a real close alignment to how we operate as people in the world. And I think that being good in one area lends itself to being good in the other, and that's a strength. And we leverage all of those skill sets to do what we do, but then also meet our employees where they're at.
I really liked that, and that what we do lends itself to other things. And I'm going to even extend it to one of my favorite topics, which is the artificial intelligence tool we're working on. Because what I've seen, comparing what has come out of my work on this for the last 2 years and many of what I've seen from the competitors, is our flexibility. We really focus on flexibility, on being able to adjust, on picking a way that enables you to deal with the most situations you can. And you're right, that is such an integral part of medical writing in the pharmaceutical industry. Nevertheless, I've been in big pharma companies, as have you, and I know that many of those companies are not run that way. And it's kind of interesting that that's your classic round peg in the square hole approach, whereas you would think, based on the industry, you would be forced to have this flexible kind of adaptive approach to your employees. Not always true, though. And I think that often delineates what the difference between success and not lack of success, certainly in sports. And I'm an American football fan. They say the best coaches are not necessarily the ones who know about X or Y, but the ones who know how to do the things to get the players they have to be their best. And that, I think, is what you really want to do to be successful. That is the key to success in leading or running an organization.
I agree. And I too am an American football fan. And really, the most desirable coach to have on your sideline is the player's coach, right? The one that really focuses in on their team, their strengths, what makeup or mashup of players can best manage what's happening on the field, right? You send people in based on what they can do with how the other team is lining up. Or do you want to run play or a pass play, right? Like those are all of the things. And the key is they know their team, right? And I think that goes back to the culture part of things, is that at Trilogy, nobody is a number, right? Everybody, we know the faces, we know the names, we know their families, we know their stories. We connect, right? And I think building those relationships is what makes us able to rise up and support people and make them feel not only the inclusion part, but also the belonging, right? People want to belong somewhere. They want to feel like their voice, their opinion, their input matters, and it does here. And so much of what our employees suggest or bring to the table is considered and implemented, and and we honor that input, and I think, to your point about big pharma, there's already so much put in place that voices, individual voices, don't necessarily matter in a way that's meaningful, right? You can certainly have very local impact, but here you can have global impact.
I will actually, again, based on what you said, I think it's really interesting. And I think I'm going to try and do the full circle now and come back to a word I used in the beginning, and that's respect. I know several organizations where either the coach doesn't respect the players or the boss doesn't respect the workers. You can see that in the military a lot as well. And I think that's really key, is that we respect our employees, and that builds a culture where then, and of course you have to have a culture like what we're talking about, where they can say what they think, and it gets respected, and not always done exactly the way they want, but it's at least treated with respect. That enables that. So it's a very enabling kind of situation. If you don't have that respect to begin with, it's like, oh, the employees, and they're like, the man, then of course it just goes bad from there. Whereas if you start off with that respect, you can build it to a situation where it actually functions and can be successful.
Yep. Respect and trust is everything, right? And that's foundational. And I think, and I think it, when you take it down to its core, you have to build the trust. But if you don't have the respect and the empowerment and all of those, pieces, then you never really get there. And I think one of my first impressions here was just the sense of empowerment, and the fact that even in how we go about resourcing our projects, everything is, assigned at least in a team of 2. So there's that built-in support. I will not let you fall. I will not let you fail, right? Because I think one of the things that I really enjoy here, and I think this is in alignment with who I am and what I found at Trilogy, is it's not failure, it's an opportunity to learn. And we don't punish based on mistakes and what others, and maybe even other companies would call a failure. It's all an opportunity. And I think that's really important. Again, going back to that, creating that, psychological safe space. If people are biting their nails in the corner thinking, I can't mess up, I can't have a misstep, you're paralyzing yourself before you even get out of the gate. So the ability to just go out and do your best, debrief, figure out what you can do better, and then the next time out, you do it better, right? But knowing that you've got somebody in your corner, you've got somebody, at your side that you can depend on for support is really key. It gives you that safety net in which to really step out and just give it your all, and know that if you need help, you've got it.
Well, that's Gretchen Griffin and Barry Drees making it all sound easy. Obviously, this is a complex and difficult thing. Many get it wrong. But I think with the way we discuss, we should probably tackle Mideast peace as our next topic. Or to make it more exciting, maybe we'll pick a topic where we disagree, like which football team do you support versus the one I support. But anyway, Gretchen, it was a pleasure. Always fun to talk to you, and we'll be seeing you again at the next podcast.
Thanks, Barry. It's always a blast to chat.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So thank you for listening to TriloTalk today. If you enjoyed it, please come back and listen to us again. If you have feedback on this or any of our sessions, we would love to hear it. In addition, if you have ideas for future topics that you'd like us to cover, particularly something you think the community should be talking about, let us know. We would like this to be an ongoing conversation with medical writers at large, and you can send us comments on our Twitter feed or on our LinkedIn page. Just a reminder, you can find all our episodes of the TriloTalk podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and trilogywriting.com/TriloTalk. Have a good rest of your day.